Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. I was no stranger to heartbreak, not with the way life knocks you down when you're not paying attention. But this wasn't just a heartbreak, this was annihilation. My name's Daniel Granger. For 18 years, I was the kind of husband who remembered anniversaries without needing a calendar. I brought her hot cocoa when her hands were cold, tucked love notes into her purse before meetings, defended her when others questioned her work ethic. I was her foundation. I never thought she'd crack it open. Her name was Claire. Claire Evans, once the love of my life. We met in high school, first period chemistry. She was all sharp edges and quiet ambition, and I was the laid-back guy who wore too many flannels and talked too loud in class. But she saw something in me. I helped her laugh when her anxiety got too loud, and she helped me believe in a future that didn't revolve around just surviving. We married young. Too young, some said. I worked construction back then, long hours, aching joints, and empty lunchboxes. Claire studied business, then finance, grinding through internships and night classes. We didn't have much, but it was ours. A one-bedroom apartment with peeling wallpaper and a wobbly table we fixed up together. I used to tell her, "Someday, this table's going to be in a real house, and we'll sit our kids here." She'd smile, kiss my cheek, and whisper, "Someday." Someday came fast. She graduated atop of her class, landed a junior financial analyst role at Dunwell and Chase. I started my own contracting business. We grew, built a life, bought a house, and painted our kitchen that ridiculous lemon yellow she loved. Every crack in the drywall had a story. Every corner carried laughter, fights, and makeups. But 2 years ago, the Claire I knew started vanishing. It began subtle. A new wardrobe, sleek, corporate, expensive. She claimed it was to match her promotion to vice president of client operations. Then came the late meetings, the out-of-state conferences that somehow never had agendas. And the worst part? She stopped touching me. Not in the dramatic we're-in-trouble way, just absence. Like I didn't exist when she looked at me. She still said the words, "Love you," but they were hollow, like saying "bless you" to a stranger's sneeze. Automatic, meaningless. I made excuses. She's tired. She's stressed. She just needs time. The truth? I didn't want to see the signs because if I did, I'd have to admit the life we built was cracking beneath my feet. Then came the day I found the receipt. It was stuffed in the back pocket of her coat, a suite at the Halston downtown, room service for 2, a bottle of champagne, 2 entrees, chocolate-covered strawberries, date, Valentine's Day. I was home that night. Claire claimed she was at a leadership retreat. I'd cooked her dinner, waited till midnight, texted, called. She never responded. The next morning, she walked in like nothing happened, gave me a tired smile, kissed my cheek, and said, "Missed you." I stared at her like a ghost. From that moment, the man I was, the forgiving, hopeful, endlessly loyal husband, died. In his place rose someone I barely recognized, someone quiet, deliberate, someone dangerous. I called a private investigator that same day. An old Army buddy, Jackson Cole. Tough, efficient, and discreet. He didn't ask many questions, just took the details and told me he'd get the truth. Within a week, I had what I needed. Claire wasn't just cheating, she was in a full-blown affair. With her boss, Jason Whitmore, senior partner, married, 2 kids, picture-perfect family on his desk, Sunday brunches in matching polos. Apparently, Claire was the go-to for after-hours meetings. Their affair was months deep, possibly longer. And every lie she told me, Every time she said, "I'm working late," was time spent in a hotel room with a man who wore cufflinks that cost more than my monthly truck payment. I didn't rage. I didn't break things. I planned. Because if Claire and Jason thought they were smart, thought they could live two lives without consequences, they hadn't met the man I'd become. They thought I'd quietly fall apart. Instead, I was about to rewrite their happily ever after with fire, and I wasn't going to do it alone. Because when I met Jason's wife, the real war began. Rebecca Whitmore opened the door with a wary expression, a dish towel still in her hands, her hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail. She wore a soft gray hoodie and faded jeans, the kind of casual comfort you'd expect from someone who believed their world was still intact. "Mrs. Whitmore?" I asked. Her eyes narrowed. "Yes? I'm Daniel Granger. I think we need to talk about your husband and mine." The color drained from her face, but she didn't panic. She didn't slam the door or ask who I was again. She just nodded, slow and quiet, and stepped aside. Her living room was clean, organized, filled with the smell of fresh coffee and vanilla candles. Framed pictures of two kids, a boy, maybe 10, and a girl about 8, smiled from every shelf. The perfect American family. Only now I knew it was all a lie, just like my own. I sat across from her on the edge of a leather couch, the manila envelope in my hands like a loaded weapon. "You suspected something, didn't you?" I asked softly. Rebecca looked down at her hands. "I did, for months. Jason's been distant, different, cold. He lies and forgets his lies. He came back from one trip smelling like a perfume I don't wear. Said it was a client's wife who hugged him too long." She let out a dry, bitter laugh. I wanted to believe him, for the kids, for everything we built. I handed her the envelope. "You don't have to believe him anymore." She opened it with trembling hands. Photos, receipts, statements. And finally, the one that always breaks them, the image of her husband with his hand at the small of Claire's back, walking into a hotel. Her breath caught. She flipped through quickly, then slowly, and finally froze. "This was our anniversary weekend," she whispered. "I planned a whole surprise at home, cooked his favorite meal. He said he had a conference. He was at the Halston with Claire," I said. Same room, same dress, same lies. Her hands started shaking. "He's been using our joint card, all these charges. He told me they were work-related." She looked up at me then, her composure cracking. "And your wife? Did she act like she still loved you?" I nodded. Every day, and now I know every "I love you" was a rehearsal for a life she was building behind my back. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. Two strangers sitting in a house full of broken promises. Then something shifted in her. She set the photos down with precision, wiped her eyes, and looked at me with something sharper than pain. Steel. "What do you want to do, Mr. Granger?" "Call me Daniel," I said, "and I want to burn their fantasy to the ground." Rebecca leaned back, folded her arms, and said, "Good, because so do I." From that moment on, we weren't strangers. We were co-conspirators. She had access, I didn't. Jason's business records, calendar, passwords. She was the keeper of his life. And now she'd weaponize every detail he ever shared in trust. Her voice never wavered as she mapped out his weaknesses. "He's up for a promotion," she said. "Senior managing partner. There's a clause in their company charter. Morality violations equal termination. No severance. Claire's been charging hotels to her company card," I added. "I've got the statements. That's fraud." Rebecca's lips curled into something colder than a smile. "Perfect." Then we hit them from both sides, corporate and personal, financial and reputational. We planned late into the night. She'd contact Jason's firm anonymously and drop the evidence. I'd initiate the divorce paperwork, freeze the accounts Claire didn't know I could touch. We'd time it so everything landed the night they were next together, the Halston, room 1209, Thursday at 8 p.m., but that wasn't enough, not for either of us. "I want to see their faces," she said quietly. "I want to be there when their fake world collapses." "You will be," I promised. Then she surprised me. After that, we destroyed their social standing, friends, neighbors, co-workers. I want the people who smiled at us at barbecues to know exactly what kind of people they are. It was brutal, but necessary, because this wasn't just about cheating. This was about betrayal, theft, emotional violence, and now they'd finally feel it all in return. The night before the confrontation, I lay awake in my half-empty home. The coffee mug Claire always used sat untouched on the counter. Her laugh still echoed faintly in my memory, and yet I felt no pain, just clarity. The next night, I wore my cleanest blazer, the one from our engagement dinner, and knocked on room 1209 with Rebecca by my side. She wore pearls, heels, her hair pulled back in that power bun women wear when they mean business. We were calm, prepared, and ready to watch them fall. The door opened after a pause. Claire stood there, barefoot, in a silk robe, mascara slightly smudged. Her eyes widened when she saw me, then darted to Rebecca. She didn't say anything, she just froze. I stepped inside. Rebecca followed without hesitation. The air in the room reeked of perfume, room service, and something sour beneath it all. Betrayal. Jason sat on the edge of the bed in an undershirt, scrolling his phone. He looked up and blinked. "Rebecca," he said, voice cracking. She didn't answer him. Instead, she pulled a stack of photos from her clutch and tossed them onto the desk. "Congratulations," she said flatly. "You're both officially caught." Jason stood, suddenly alert. "What is this? What are you doing here?" I turned to Claire. "You want to answer that, or should I?" Claire took a step forward. "Daniel, please, I can explain." "No," I said, holding up a hand. "You had 18 months to explain. You chose secrets instead." She looked like she might cry, but I didn't care. Not anymore. Rebecca's voice cut the air like a blade. "You missed Sarah's recital to be here. You missed Michael's science fair. Every family moment? You traded it for this." Jason tried to speak. "It wasn't—" "Spare it," she snapped. "We know everything, the receipts, the hotel bookings, the flights that didn't exist." Claire's hand trembled. "Daniel, please don't do this here." I pulled a stack of divorce papers from my coat pocket and placed them on the dresser. "Where should I do it, Claire?" "At home, where you kissed me goodnight hours after sleeping with him." She said nothing. Jason turned to Rebecca, voice low. "Let's talk. Just you and me. We can fix this." Rebecca laughed. "You didn't want me then. Don't pretend now." Jason's confidence cracked. "We can keep this private." "Too late," I said. "By Monday, your company will have full evidence. You're done." Claire looked like she couldn't breathe. "My job? You charged company cards for this." "It's fraud," I said. "Hope the champagne was worth your career." Rebecca stepped forward, pulling out her own paperwork. "These are my terms. I'm taking the house, full custody and support. Don't bother fighting, you've already lost." Jason slumped onto the bed, speechless. Claire turned back to me, desperate. "Daniel, you were always the better one, the kind one. Please, don't do this." I stared at her for a long second. "You're right, I was kind, but not anymore." I turned toward the door. "Wait," Claire called out. "It didn't mean anything." I stopped, looked back at her. Her eyes were glossy, her face pale. I took one breath and said calmly, "Then neither did our marriage." And with that, I left. Rebecca beside me, the door closing behind us like a final chapter. The fallout was faster than either of them could have imagined. By the following Wednesday, Claire was called into a formal meeting at her firm. HR had received an anonymous tip, complete with expense reports, hotel receipts, and photo evidence of her business meetings with Jason. Her badge was deactivated before she even made it out of the building. Jason. He lasted 2 days longer. Rebecca had already sent a full dossier to his board of directors, clearly labeled and time-stamped. A single call from the ethics committee was all it took. His promotion? Gone. His position? Terminated for gross misconduct and misuse of corporate funds. The news spread, fast and publicly. Their LinkedIn profiles disappeared within days. Co-workers whispered. Mutual friends stopped calling. Neighbors, once friendly, avoided eye contact. Even the barista at their favorite coffee shop gave Jason his drink in a plain cup. No name, no smile. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. Quietly and carefully. I replaced the photos in our home, took down Claire's wedding dress from the closet and boxed it up. Got rid of the lemon-scented candles she liked and opened the windows. The silence felt lighter now. Rebecca called one evening. "Jason's moved in with his parents," she said. "He can't afford rent." I nodded. Claire's back at her folks' place too. No job, no savings. The prenup held. She chuckled, not out of joy, but relief. "You did good, Daniel. You really did." "So did you." We both paused for a moment, letting that truth settle. Two people who'd once been strangers, now co-survivors of a shared storm. "I heard Claire's trying to apply at a local firm," I added. "But word's already out. No one wants someone who misused company funds for a year and a half." "She'll learn," Rebecca said simply. "Eventually. What about Jason?" "Oh, he's learning already. Michael refuses to talk to him. And Sarah, well, she's too young to understand, but she senses something's wrong." That hurt more than anything. The kids. The ones who hadn't asked for any of this. Who just wanted their parents to be decent people. Stable. Safe. Rebecca's voice softened. "At least they have one parent who didn't lie." I nodded slowly. "That's more than most." Claire tried calling again the next day. I didn't answer, didn't even listen to the voicemail. Instead, I picked up a new drill for my next project, refinishing the kitchen. Not because it needed it, but because it felt good to build something again. From scratch. And this time, no one would tear it down. 3 weeks passed, and that's all it took for the cheaters to feel the full weight of everything they'd lost. Jason was living in a cramped guest room at his parents' place in Connecticut. He had no job, no access to his company car, and was facing a court order to pay spousal support that would bleed him dry for years. Rebecca's legal team made sure of it. Claire wasn't doing much better. Her social life dried up overnight. Her inbox was flooded with rejection emails. The suburban firm she applied to rescinded their offer the moment they heard why she left her last job. Apparently, word spreads fast when you've charged champagne to a corporate card while sleeping with your boss. Her parents took her in, reluctantly. Even her own mother couldn't look her in the eye. She tried contacting me again, emails, a handwritten letter, a voicemail where she sobbed and asked if we could talk. Said she still loved me, said she was lost. I didn't respond. My lawyer sent a cease and desist. The prenup she signed back when we were just two broke kids in love now protected everything I'd built. She walked away with nothing but clothes in a suitcase and a ruined reputation. And me? I was okay, more than okay. I'd taken my house back, repainted every room, removed every photo of her, started jogging again, even took a weekend trip to the mountains alone. Something Claire always said was a waste of time. It wasn't. It was healing. Rebecca and I still talked now and then, strictly friendly. No complications. Just two people who had burned down the lies around them and stood watching the smoke clear. One night, I texted her. Claire sent another letter. She replied a minute later, "Did you read it?" "No." "Good." I smiled. She understood. Claire and Jason had gambled everything for their secret fantasy, and they lost it all. They thought they were clever. They thought we'd stay silent. They never imagined the people they betrayed would rise, united, and strike back with truth, timing, and relentless precision. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming dignity, drawing a line, and making sure the people who lied, cheated, and destroyed families didn't walk away without consequences. Some betrayals are too deep for forgiveness. Some endings are necessary. And sometimes the best closure isn't a confrontation or apology. It's silence, and a life rebuilt without them in it.